around child labour and encouraging us all to take action. And all of us in this room have a role to play in taking action, including the media houses who are represented here. It is important that we are raising awareness and collectively taking action, because I believe everyone in this room doesn't want to see children employed in hazardous labour. We want to see children being given every opportunity for full development to their full potential. So congratulations to the Ministry for their leadership in commemorating today. And I'm particularly pleased with the theme for today's commemoration. And we have two themes, I learned. One is the global theme, extending social protection, combating child labour, and our national theme, social protection and the fight against child labour in Malawi. You know, from an early age we were always told by our parents, prevention, what is the best cure? And extending social protection is about preventing children from being forced into child labour. We know that vulnerable families, vulnerable households have very limited choices. We know that they often live on the margins of subsistence, and child labour is a product of poverty. It is a product of a family that has a limited choice to make, and that choice is determined by poverty. And we believe that extending social protection to the poorest families will be a major factor in the elimination of child labour in Malawi, and that is something all of us want to see. We recognise the efforts, as they have been highlighted previously, of the Ministry in extending the social protection programmes, and there are many social protection programmes in Malawi, and we want to see those programmes extended even further so that more vulnerable families can access the safety nets that they need, so they are not forced to send their children into labour. NGOs have played, always have played, and continue to play a complementary role to the government's efforts in the elimination of child labour. I'm here representing a consortium of NGOs together under a project known as CLEAR, and those NGOs include CRECCOM, some of whom are here, YONECO and Total Line Care, as well as obviously Save the Children. And we are implementing this project in Rumpi, in Chizi and Machinji districts. We know that there are other NGOs who are also involved in the fight against child labour, including Plan, World Vision and others. So I am here representing those NGOs. Let me share then a little bit about the CLEAR project and maybe some of the achievements that we've seen to date, and then finally some of the challenges as we move forward under today's theme. I said prevention is the best cure, and the actions of the CLEAR project and achievements have been linked primarily to preventing children going into child labour, and that includes a social safety net programme improving the livelihoods of families as an alternative to child labour, extending the village savings and loans, setting up small agri-businesses with vulnerable families, and providing agricultural inputs. So similar safety net programmes to the wider programmes that the government of Malawi is themselves providing. Linked to prevention is also identifying children who are at risk of going into child labour, and together with the Ministry we have identified and formulated protocols, so we are able to go into a community and identify those children who are at risk and therefore target those children. And this was something that Harry referred to in his statement the need to be able to identify the most at risk and target our interventions to those children and their families. And then also around the theme of prevention, it's important to support structures both at the community, district, and then also at the national level to enable us to systematically fight and eliminate child labour. So the CLEAR project engages at all of those levels, and many of the ministries and departments and stakeholders who we engage with are here at this table. And then, of course, raising awareness is critical in prevention, and it's very important that people are aware of their rights under the conventions that the Malawi government has signed up to, and employers are also aware of their obligations. And one of the things that the CLEAR project has done successfully is raising this awareness, and we're seeing a change in attitude and a change in practice because of a greater understanding of what is an acceptable standard, although we recognize that we have much further still to go. So as well as prevention, there is a need to withdraw children who are currently engaged in child labour practices that are harmful to them. And the CLEAR project is working in these 3 districts to withdraw and refer these children to other services that are provided by the government. For example, back into the education stream, to health, or through the child protection workers to psychosocial support. So removing children who are involved in harmful labour practices and then linking them, referring them into systems that will support them to re-enter their community, their family, their school, and will address the issues that they may have, the traumas that they may have around the psychosocial support. That is a key element of what we are doing. So prevention, withdrawal, and then recognizing under the Malawi Employment Act of 2000, which allows young persons aged between 14 and 18 to work in environments that are not harmful to their health or their safety or their education or their development. So in line with the Malawi Employment Act of 2000, we are working on what we are calling the decent work agenda. We know that children are employed, and where that employment is in line with the Malawi Employment Act, we want to make sure that children have decent working conditions. And we are working with employers to ensure that those conditions in which children are employed legally are decent, are not harmful to health, are not harmful to their educational opportunities. And that is about working with employers to identify risks and hazards, and then to look at ways in which those hazards and risks can be mitigated or eliminated. We think in a country where youth unemployment is high and is likely to get higher, working with employers and government around the decent work agenda is actually crucial, and we look forward to extending that piece of work over the next year or 2. So that's a little about the CLEAR project, maybe just to use this opportunity to highlight some of the challenges, and these would not be unfamiliar to many around this table. You know, in the absence of a child labour policy, our national efforts remain less coherent, less coordinated, and less directed. So we continue to appeal to the government to accelerate the approval of the child labour policy. We think that will be crucial in providing greater direction and coordination to all the efforts taken